What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Jersey Comic Crew. Chris and Rob here, and today we are delving into how the Kindred saga changed Spider-Man.
That's right. So, guys, the Kindred saga is the last comic book arc or total run that just happened for Spider-Man. And to talk about how it actually changed Spider-Man as a character moving forward, we got to do a little setup work here. So, first we got to talk about Spider-Man was fighting this person known as the Kindred. The Kindred we thought was to be Harry Osborn, who was thought to be brought back to life in order to make Peter Parker suffer for all of his sins and the pain he's caused letting these people die. So throughout the comic event, we found out that there were two Kindred characters, both with different identities. We found out that their true identities are Gabriel and Sarah Stacy. That's right, the children of Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, Robin, this is a big deal because we had a massive kind of retcon that just happened in this story arc. And if we go back many years ago, there was a story called Sins Past, which is renowned to be the most hated Spider-Man story in all of Marvel Comics. Not even just Spider-Man. It's one of the most hated storylines across Marvel's entire cabinet of stories.
And why is that,
Which is a lot of stories.
And why is that?
Well, the reason is because we find out basically that Norman Osborn had this random affair with Gwen Stacy before she died on the Brooklyn Bridge, which he killed her too, so that also doesn't make sense. So he fell in love with Gwen Stacy, apparently had this affair, had these two kids out of wedlock who end up being Gabriel and Sarah Stacy, who Rob just mentioned. And this caused this massive turmoil in the comic community. Now we have this pure, beautiful girlfriend who at the time, Gwen Stacy was everyone's girlfriend. Every kid reading Spider-Man was in love with Gwen Stacy, and then Jerry Conway took her away from us. So you had Gwen Stacy, you had this great story with Peter, and he lost the love of his life. And then you find out she was, had this side family with his arch nemesis, the most evil person on the planet, Norman Osborn. It was a terrible look for the comic. And this is retconning that in this way, because when we come back to the present, we find out that in the throes of all this Kindred stuff, Harry, along with Mysterio, along with Mendel Stromm, cloned Gabriel Stacy and Sarah Stacy to fake that Norman had this family in order to mess with Norman to spite his father, because, family dynamic.
And the reason Mysterio is a key aspect of this is because Mysterio implanted essentially the memories into Norman, making him believe all this was true. So because of this Kindred saga, we now know that never happened. Gwen Stacy's back to being how she was, being pure. She didn't deal with a secret family, had two children out of wedlock that Spider-Man never noticed. None of that happened anymore, which is fantastic. To go further on, we got to talk about the other major thing that Kindred saga did to change Spider-Man moving forward. And this deals with two very powerful magicians, right? We got to talk about Mephisto and Doctor Strange. While the Kindred saga was happening, Mephisto and Doctor Strange were essentially gambling in the back alleys of hell. If they win, their souls would be free. So eventually, obviously, the hero prevails. Part of Spider-Man's soul has now been freed, and Harry Osborn's soul has now been freed from Mephisto, so he can finally be at peace. So now everything should be back to the way it was, right?
Yeah, I mean, we hope so, because, again, we have another retcon, and this is the other most hated story in Spider-Man history.
Yes.
A story called One More Day, where Peter had to make a deal with the devil Mephisto in order to save his Aunt May from dying. And in return, his basically marriage to Mary Jane Watson gets null and voided. They wrote around it. They weren't married anymore. Mary Jane doesn't remember it. Peter has to live with all the pain and agony. And again, people hated it. Why are we just destroying Peter's relationships with the women he loves 24/7? And it was a very controversial storyline.
Yeah.
So we find out though in this Kindred saga that Norman had made a deal with Mephisto prior to One More Day. And this is why Harry has become Kindred and the Green Goblin, because Harry's life was kind of set in stone because Norman gave Harry's soul to Mephisto.
Correct.
In order for Norman to, gain wealth and power through Oscorp. So fast forward to the present day. Now we figured out Harry is actually a clone. Mephisto was torturing him in hell, which sounds absolutely awful. And Harry comes back, realizes, what's going on. He finds his own corpse in like the morgue.
Yeah.
And realizes he's a clone and that Mephisto is a part of this. And this is all tied to not only his dad giving his soul away, but also Harry, messing with the Stacy twins and those clones as well. So One More Day gets retconned. Sin's Past gets retconned. And as dense and convoluted as the story is, Rob, I am definitely happy that those two stories are now kaput.
I am as well. And also, it's cleaning up the Spider-Man history. And it gets so weird with the clones and the deals and this and that. And, the clone of Harry also dies in this, right? So right now, Harry is dead. Well, he's actually always been dead. It was just a clone that was brought back, right? And Norman Osborn's been cleared. All these weird secrets from the past are gone now. So this kind of sets a new step forward for Spider-Man to move forward. Now, if Harry Osborn comes back from the dead, that's a whole different story online. It'll actually be real Harry, not another clone. I think it's good that we're moving away from all this clone, all this weirdness, right? Because it just made the story more complicated than it needed to be, right?
Yeah.
We're moving forward. Gwen Stacy, her history is now been back to being pure. The Norman Osborn, Mephisto, Spider-Man weird love triangle thing has been severed. It's been clean cut. Everything's moving forward now. And especially with Norman Osborn having this new clean slate because of the Sin Eater is going to set this new standard for Spider-Man. So from now on, we're not going to have to really worry about Spider-Man's past haunting him as much as just the emotional trauma versus a secret villain being cloned in the background. So again, the story, yes, it might have been a little convoluted, but it was very much needed to clean up the mess that Spider-Man was. We're going to look back on this Nick Spencer run. We're going to be thankful that this was the cleaning point and we're allowed to pivot forward and move forward. And that is why the Kindred Saga changed Spider-Man forever.
The overall message is, one, Nick Spencer's the only one who had the balls to fix it, right?
Correct.
People have been asking for this for years. These are stories that were sitting there kind of just festering in the back of people's minds. Kind of like Mephisto.
Yeah.
And the fact that Mephisto still had a piece of Peter's soul since then, I thought was a good connection. But yeah, this whole run to me was to fix One More Day, Sin's Past, and now move forward. Agree 100%. So I'm really interested to see that. And I also think they need to leave Harry dead. I
agree.
I think Harry has always been a secondary character, even as the Green Goblin himself. He's never Norman. He's never as dangerous as Norman because there's that friendship there. There's that past there. Whereas Norman, it's just straight up yeah, I'm crazy. I'm going to do some stuff. So I'm interested to see that going forward. Maybe leave Harry alone for many, many years and focus on a bunch of other rogues gallery. Because again, Spider-Man has the biggest rogues gallery besides Batman.
And Harry coming back as a clone did give us the grandson of Norman, right? So we still have that character, and he's allowed to be fleshed out, Normie, and he can do all these kind of weird things. We've seen him in alternate tie-ins and Elseworld stories, being a really cool character, so it'll be good to focus on him. But guys, we want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below, what you thought of the Kindred Saga. Are you guys happy that One More Day and Sin's Past are erased from comics history? Let us know down in the comments below.
And guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up, really helps the channel out a lot. If you're new, subscribe, turn on those notifications. You don't miss any more of our videos, whether it's comic related or others. We have them all here on the channel, so go check them out if you missed any. And as always, I'm Chris Heller. That is Rob Moran. We are the Jersey Comic Crew, and we'll see you next time.